Hey guys, I'm Mariah.
And I'm Victoria.
And this is The Church Chat. Go ahead, sing it.
The Church Chat.
Oh. So much fun. We are so excited today. It's so exciting. We're going to talk about something different, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys.
Topic only today.
Oh, yeah. And we've kind of been, this is very organic conversation. We didn't even discuss our own notes. Like,
it's going to be super organic, and I was telling someone earlier, like, Mariah has some big opinions and strong opinions, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
I didn't realize that I had that big of opinions, but I guess I do. So
you do, and you stick to them, which is good.
Yeah.
It makes you who you are.
Yeah, I love that. But we're excited. We talked last week about topics being sent in, and so this week we're going to talk about these topics, or at least one of them today, that was sent in, and we are excited and nervous at the same time.
Very nervous, but I feel like we're kind of experts on this a little bit. We're about friendships, you know?
It is about friendships, and yeah.
Maybe not experts.
I don't know that we're experts on it, but
your face. You were like,
I don't know that I am an expert. You can call yourself one.
I'm not an expert either.
But we do have experience.
Experience, that's what I mean.
In friendships.
Yes.
And talking about godly friendships and even non-godly friendships, which is kind of what we're going to go with today, of how to navigate friendships with non-believers
and lukewarm Christians.
So
it's going to be an interesting topic.
Very interesting. I can't wait to hear what your research came up with and bounce off each other.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. So I feel like this topic is a little bit more sensitive one that we've gotten into. But when I was thinking about it and researching, I was like, what am I going to say about this? Of course, right? Yeah. And then I thought, very interesting point. I feel like I've been on both sides of this coin.
Okay.
So I feel like I've been the lukewarm Christian in friendships at times. And then I feel like I've had to navigate friendships with non-believers too.
Right.
So I feel like I've been on both sides of the coin here. And I know it says, I have some notes here, but I know it says that iron sharpens iron in Proverbs 27:17. And I think that's very important.
Definitely.
But I also know that God says love one another, and be gentle and be kind with people. So I don't think that we should write off the non-believers and just shun them.
Yeah.
And not be friends with them. But I feel like on the other hand, iron does sharpen iron. So your inner circle should be sharpening you.
Right.
But me, when I was a lukewarm Christian, a couple years ago, you were still my friend, and
of course.
I mean, we've been together forever and we all go through ups and downs in our lives.
Always, yes.
Right. But I feel like you and other people around me, you were my constants, you're my constant friends, and you still poured into me.
Aww.
And I needed that,
Yeah.
I didn't want to drag you down, of course, but seeing you and seeing what God was doing in your life and Wesley's life and just being like, that's my best friend. It showed a great example to me.
Aww.
That I needed to kind of
You're going to make me cry.
Live right.
You're going to make me cry.
But I'm being genuine, know?
No,
and you didn't judge me, but if I needed to be called out on something, you would bluntly, but
maybe
gently
that's
do
why
it.
I've been told I've been judgmental, even though I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I'm a true friend.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to call you out.
It would make me mad sometimes that you would say stuff to me, but then I look back and I'm like, I shouldn't have been doing those things at that time if I was trying to be living for Christ,
Yeah.
So I think you were a true friend to me.
Aww.
And it pushed me to be where I am today.
Well, I'm glad you finally realized that. And you're not mad at me for calling you out those times.
No, we need that.
It's so important to have somebody that's going to push you forward.
Accountability.
To what they know your purpose is.
Right.
I don't know. I hate that in the past as a friend, I have been called judgmental before. And it hurt me because it wasn't coming from a place of judgment.
Yeah.
It's more of, I want you to be the best you can be, and know what between right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't come from a place of judgment, but you need those kind of people in your life.
You do.
I have had those kind of people in my life. My
Right.
sister is one of those people in my life.
I could see that.
She's definitely always been one to call me out on things.
Tell
for
you how
sure.
it is.
And yes, of course, it makes me mad when it happens. But in the end, I also know she has my best interests at heart too.
Right.
So she wants what's best for me, and just like your friends around you should want what's best for you in your
100%.
relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So I thought that was
I
great.
think that's so sweet of you to bring me up in that. Like, oh my God,
It's
that's
true though. I'm being genuine when I say that. So to all of our viewers out there,
yeah.
don't give up on those lukewarm Christians because they
Yeah.
might just be going through something, you know?
Yeah.
And
now look at you.
I know.
We're doing ministry together.
And we're doing ministry together. It's come full circle.
It really has.
Yeah, I love it.
We were born in the church, and now we're doing ministry together. It's just wonderful. I love it.
It is.
I think that I liked what you were saying about we definitely want to hang out with non-believers and lukewarm Christians, and but there is a balance. In Matthew 9 through 13, it talks about Jesus having dinner with the tax collectors.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wrote this verse down too.
Did you?
Yes. Okay, so continue.
So it talks about Jesus having dinner with the tax collectors,
Mhm.
aka the sinners.
Okay.
And what I thought was interesting about this is what it said, but Jesus didn't hang with them because they were cool. He didn't hang with them because he was drawn to their rebellion. He hung out with them for a purpose. And so I thought that was really interesting thought that when we're with the people that we love that are non-believers or lukewarm Christians, there is a purpose for being with them. So, but also it doesn't give being friends with those people that are in those positions does not give us a free pass to do worldly things in order to make them feel tolerated.
Be in the world, but not of the world.
Yes.
Correct.
I thought it was such an interesting thought. It doesn't justify being friends with non-believers that do all that stuff does not justify yourself for doing that stuff either.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, to go along with that verse, we'll tag team a little bit.
Yeah, that's the point.
So the verse 12, verse 11, the Pharisees asked, why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners? Because it was not a good look,
right?
You know? And Jesus overheard it and said, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but it's the sick.
Yep.
So I thought that was very interesting because those friendships, like even me, they need that purpose, right? They need to be pushed a little bit or like guided into, you know, finding Jesus or what their purpose is and things like that. I was talking to someone also today and they were like, you don't want to turn people off though either.
No.
Like you want to guide them gently and kindly, but not like shove Jesus down their throat. So I feel like that's an issue in today's world too, because like if you're part of religion, you're kind of like the Pharisees, you know, like you're pushing the law on them, you're pushing this and that, and you're pushing them away from Jesus.
I wrote like some don'ts and some do's when it comes to friendships.
Okay.
I wrote, don't isolate yourself from them because it's a balance. We tend to either isolate and say we can't be around them, or we start to compare our values and become more like them. So like don't isolate yourself from them, but know your limits and know your boundaries.
Boundaries. I had boundaries on mine too.
Boundaries are very important. You need to know what your boundary is, what you're going to do with them and what you're not going to do with them because it's not worth compromising your values.
Right.
And then my other was don't support or encourage ungodly behavior. And like that's a hard one because when someone's telling you something but you want to, you know, you feel bad or like, okay, so like if you're wanting someone to become a Christian and you're like trying to justify it for them, like, oh yeah, I understand. But we don't need to encourage that. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we justify it for that person. Like if they're like, well, I just feel like this, we're like, oh yeah, I understand. But we can't encourage the behavior, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. But going back to boundaries, so there was a sermon, and I will never forget it. We were in youth.
Okay.
When we were probably like 16, and it talked about like having boundaries and having friendships with people or relationships with people. And our youth pastor at the time pulled up a chair, and he gave the example of like he stood on the chair and he gave the example of someone like coming up to him, right? And they were kneeling on the ground in front of the chair, and he tried to pull them up, but he had to use like a ton of force to pull them up. And then the same person, like he went back in his position and he tried to pull him down, and he was easily yanked off the chair.
That's good.
So it was the example of it's much easier to be pulled down than to pull somebody up.
It is.
So you have to have those boundaries and create those boundaries with those people that are doing things that you disagree with.
I think that's a great example.
Because you will be falling in line with them.
Knowing your boundaries.
More easily.
So important.
Yeah. Very interesting. And in your inner circle, you need iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
You need those godly people in your inner closest circle.
So I think that is a great example of being friends with someone that's a non-believer, being careful and setting your boundaries. So I talked about my don'ts of when you're friends with non-believers.
Okay.
But my do's. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Is do listen more than talk. When you're friends with a non-believer, you shouldn't be trying to convince that person. If that makes sense. And I know that's kind of contradictory because...
No, I agree. That's going to push them away.
Yes, because these people are going to be more open to listening what you have to say if you've been listening to them and they know that you care. You know, I wrote that don't try to change their minds or tell them they're wrong, but be a listener, and eventually they will listen to your opinion. Eventually they'll want to know what you think and why.
Especially if you're living out. Actions speak a lot louder than words. Okay, tell me your point. Another one of my do's.
Yes, that's so exciting. Do live a fruit-filled life.
Yes,
and model godly lifestyle.
Because they're going to start asking, "Why do you do that? Why do you act that way? Why?" I've had people come up to me, like when I was younger, and I was like, I was at a good season in my life with Jesus, and I was just like on fire, and people would come up to me and be like, you're glowing. Like, you're just like so joyful, like what's going on. And then, you know, I could kind of testify to them a little bit, but I've always had friends in my life as well that I was always the praying friend, right? So everyone would come to me and be like, can you pray for me? Can you pray for me?
But it's good that they felt like they could come to you.
Yeah. Like they saw that in me, and they knew that I was a prayer and knew I was a Christian, and they needed that hope. So I always loved that.
I love that. That's great. It's so important to live that godly lifestyle because, and we can go on and on about this next, but hypocrisy is the biggest deterrent for someone who is questioning whether they want to become a Christian or questioning their relationship with God. If we are telling them one thing and showing them another, yes, that is not going to help our witness.
Right.
It's not going to help your witness at all.
No, not at all.
So, and we could go on and on. Hypocrisy is like, you know, a lot of church people are called hypocrites.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
And this is still in topic, but it might throw you off a little bit because it just popped in my head. So how would you tell a non-believer or a lukewarm Christian or someone who has been so deeply hurt by church, like, not to be discouraged by that?
It's a good question. That is a really good question. So how to not be discouraged by someone who's in a leadership position, or just like...
We could do a leadership position, because I feel like a lot of people get turned off, or like something happens in a leadership role, and they're like, oh, that made me mad, so I'm going to leave the church and I'm going to be mad at God, and I don't want to be a part of that.
I think that, number one, a leadership position is very, like, you have to be very careful in a leadership position in the church because of that situation that can turn someone away from God just because you've messed up. So every sentence that's said, every thought that's thought needs to be, covered in prayer, I guess, because you don't want to be the person that someone turns away from God because of.
Yeah.
And though it may not be on purpose, or
Mhm.
because everybody has at times where they're, it's a up and down situation. There are times when you may feel more lukewarm, and
Mhm.
but even if your relationship with God is maybe lukewarm for a little period of time, doesn't give you still shouldn't be acting. You still have a standard of the way you should act and run things, I guess.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what I would tell somebody who is hurt by that is that people are people.
And we're all sinners.
We're all sinners. We all make mistakes. Just
Yes.
though that a leader should do the best that they can to handle things in the most godly way, and listen to the word of God and listen to God speaking to them on how they should handle things. It depends on what they're doing. I don't know what
You don't
what they
condone obviously everything.
No,
but if it's like a lukewarmness a little bit, they're going through a rough
everybody
patch.
does. Everybody goes
Everybody's
through
a
ups and
person.
downs.
Yeah.
But everybody's a person. Everybody. I think of Pastor Tony's message today. It's a process. It's a process, and we all make mistakes. It's not you get saved and you're
sanctified hallelujah.
That you're never going to make a mistake again. It's not like that. And they are people too.
Right.
And they make mistakes. They have issues going on in their life that they could be upset about too. But yeah, I would just kind of reiterate the fact that, they probably didn't mean to hurt you.
Right. I love that. It's really good. I feel like you always hear people that are so hurt by church.
I think that in a leadership position, sometimes a leader can get burnt out or worn out. It doesn't mean that they're not praying, or they're not still loving Jesus, or they're not trying to live right. But sometimes it can, it's an up and down, it's a hill. And so I just kind of wanted to reiterate that those people have things that happen too, though they are held to that higher standard. That standard is what makes people call them the hypocrite.
Yeah, I agree.
And
but they're still just people.
They're still just people. They're just trying, just like everybody else.
But they live more in a glass house than other people.
Yes, that's good.
So that's great. Well, thank you for asking my kind of off-topic question, but
I mean, it went with hypocrisy, which is what we talked about, modeling a godly lifestyle, which is difficult sometimes.
It is.
Especially when you're surrounded by other non-believers. It can be very difficult.
That is true. The one thing that we haven't mentioned yet about our non-believer, lukewarm Christian friends, we should definitely pray for them.
Oh yeah.
Yes. That's like a number one point.
Probably a given that we missed there, but
I think it's true. I know it's such a pray for them. Pray for me or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's true. We do need to be praying for those non-believer friends in our lives, and I pray for my regular friends.
Yeah.
But my Christian close circle friends too, but sometimes people need a little more prayer. Sometimes.
Just sometimes. I agree with that. Yeah. And I always say, when I'm talking to the teenagers on Wednesdays or in small group, I'll be like, this sounds so cliche because we know that, but how many of us actually do that?
Exactly. It sounds so cliche. That's what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's so important to pray for your friends and the people around you. And I think it's also important to know when it's time to cut it off. Yeah,
friendships they come and go.
They do.
And that's what Pastor Tony talked about today too. He talked about when you are in that process of you become blessed, you're processing into your purpose.
Yeah.
And when you're getting broken, you have to break some things off. You break friendships, you break relationships, you break attitudes, whatever's holding you back. But also, I've always kind of known that people come and go in your lives, for a season. Not everyone, you'll always be in my life, but some friends are not meant to be there forever.
Yeah.
And you kind of need to know when it needs to end.
And it's so funny that you bring that up, because last night, so you know how yesterday we spent the day together hanging out. Our little friend group got together, and I got home later than I thought I would because it wasn't a planned day. It just kind of happened. But we were laying in bed last night, and he was like, "I wish I had friends
Wait,
like
who's
you
he?
do." Wesley, sorry.
Oh, your
Me and
husband.
Wesley, yeah. We're laying there, and he's like, "I wish I had friends like you do." And I said, he said, "Why am I?" And I'm gonna expose him. He's
That's
like,
okay.
is there something wrong with me?" And I was like, "No." I said, "Honestly, you're," and he was being kind of goofy, but at the same time, like, I think he really does feel that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he has friends, but he misses the people he grew up with.
Mm.
You and I and the people that we hung out with yesterday are one, like, we grew up together. Like, it wasn't
Right.
it's not just this friend that we hang out with randomly. It's like, I don't know how to explain it.
It's a for lifer.
It
like,
is.
We're
It's
life
a for
friends.
lifer. And I said, honestly, Wesley, you're not the one that's weird. I said, we are the ones that are
We're the anomaly.
different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people can say that they have those type of friendships, and we are lucky that we do.
I'm very blessed.
And but I think it's important to have those friendships that do sharpen you, and that may not be your poor lifers. That may be someone older than you.
A mentor.
Yes, like
exactly.
Miss Becky Sue, who wants to be our big sister. She told me today.
I love her.
She said that she thinks we need a big sister to hang out with too, and I said I think so too. So shout out to Miss Becky. But that's the person that I love. Becky's like another great friend to me.
Mm-hmm.
She's someone who's been through something more than me. Like, I'll go to her with marriage questions because she's been married for a long time. Like, you need those people that are going to encourage you in the right direction.
So kind of just wrapping everything up, we definitely feel like you can navigate those friendships and be friends with non-believers and lukewarm Christians. You just have to set boundaries and have your do's and don'ts.
Have
and
a purpose for it.
And we need to just love people too.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't be hard. Like, don't harden your heart. Love people, but don't let them pull you down.
Yeah, maybe not let
either.
those people be the ones that you confide in.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't know that they would be able to strengthen you in the way you need it.
Exactly.
But definitely don't cut them out either.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a balance. I think that's the moral of the topic, is finding that balance between you and your friend.
I love that. What a great conversation we've had today.
Thanks for talking about me and adding me in there.
But I love you.
I love you too.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I'm glad that I'm so lucky.
We are blessed.
I'm so lucky to have the friends that I have.
We are very blessed.
I guess that's it. We'll see you next time on the Church Chat.
Bye, guys.
Bye.